Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the start of a new vlog. It is now August. Summer is flying by. We just got back from a wonderful week-long trip up in the Adirondack Mountains where we visited with a whole bunch of family. It was kind of like one of those family reunion type of vacations. So I'll leave a link to the vlog here if you are interested in watching that. I didn't get a ton of reading done, but there is a little bit of book chat as well as nice clips of the mountains and the lakes and the beautiful weather that we had. We got really lucky with the weather. So as for reading updates, what I'm currently reading now is The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman, which is book number 2 in the Golden Compass. His Dark Materials actually is the name of the series, but book 1 was called The Golden Compass, which is kind of the more popular book in that series. So it's called The Subtle Knife, and we're following these two kids, 13-year-old kids named Will and Lyra. Lyra is our main protagonist from The Golden Compass, and she lives in it's magical realism. So she lives in a world that's very similar to ours, but it's a little bit pushed back in time, and then everybody has their own sort of spirit animal called a demon, which is an extension of their soul that lives outside of them and takes the form of an animal. So she meets up with this boy named Will, who lives presumably in our world where the souls are all inside of you. And they find this window that connects different worlds that they can pass back and forth through. So Lyra's on a mission, which carries on from the first book, where she discovers this magical element called dust that this organization called the Church is trying to get a hold of and destroy. So Lyra's on a mission to find out more about that. What's happening is horrible, how they are separating these kids from their demons because ultimately the child dies. But so she's on her own little mission. Will, we don't really know what his issue is. He's looking for his father. His mother's in danger, and he's running from the police due to a misunderstanding, an accident that happened in the beginning. So they're coming across these different worlds. They're in a world now where there's these invisible evil forces that attack and drain the life out of humans, but they do not touch children. So children are able to be in this world safely, but as soon as they reach a certain age, they're in danger. They come across this man who steals something that is very special to Lyra, and in order to get it back, they have to go back into this land where adults can't go and steal this knife that is the knife, the subtle knife, that can create these windows where people can travel back and forth. So ultimately, I'm really, really enjoying it. I think the writing is great. The story is great. It's really engaging. I feel as though the characters are nicely developed. I mean, it is a middle grade, so we're not going to get too deep with the characters, obviously. But he does a great job of creating tension and tense scenes. So I just got done reading like a particularly tense scene where they're trying to get Lyra's object back, and I just thought it was really well written. There's a great villain called Mrs. Coulter that carries over from the first book. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. That is what I'm reading on my Kindle at the moment. I'm also trying to plug through a bit more of Clarrisa, which is number 10 on my greatest books of all time reading project list. It's taking me forever to get through it. It's a really long book. It's about 15 to 1600 pages long, and I've just been trying to read a little bit of that each day. And I'm trying not to pick up any more physical books because I really want to get through that. I'm about halfway through, which is great. For my audiobook now, I'm listening to another memoir called This Will Only Hurt a Little, and this is written by an actress named Busy Phillips. And really the only reason that I got into this, because I did just finish another memoir right before this on audio called I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy, which was excellent, is because I have been watching Dawson's Creek, which is a show that used to air on the WB back in the early 2000s, late 90s, 2000s. And I used to love this show. I was the same age as all of the characters, and I just really loved that show when I was younger, but I had never watched the final season. So I've been watching that on Max, HBO Max. And I'm almost done with season 5, so I have one more season left. But anyway, the actress Busy Phillips is a character from season 5 and 6. And I really love her character. I love what she brought to the show, this comedic, realistic humor. You know, we're so used to seeing these perfect other characters. And then we get her, who she's a little bit of a hot mess, so I love her. So when I found out she had a memoir, I decided to give it a try. She reads it, so it's busy reading her memoir, and she's very into it. Her voice acting is really wonderful. I mean, it's a bit intense, and she does speak in an almost sort of Valley Girl style. If you've seen her in interviews, if you've seen her on Dawson's Creek, I thought that was just how she was talking for the show, but that's actually how she talks in real life. So I can see how that can be a little bit off-putting. It's also very vulgar. She swears a lot. There's a lot of F-bombs throughout the story, which doesn't bother me too much. And she gets very emotional in the story when she's telling it. In the scenes where she's angry and yelling, she's really angry and yelling while she's reading it. So that could be, you know, just a warning there. But it's a very interesting memoir into her life. And I didn't realize some of the things that she went through. I think in the beginning, it was a little bit all over the place. It wasn't sort of in this perfect chronological timeline like Jennette McCarthy's book was. It was more choppy, and she was kind of like going all over the place. So I wasn't really sure the first chapter or so, but once we got past that, we kind of start from her childhood and move her way up. So I have about an hour and a half left listening to that, really enjoying it, but it's not quite as good as How I'm Glad My Mom Died, which I just finished. But yeah, so those are the books I'm currently reading as of the start of this vlog, hoping to get through at least those two. And then we'll see what else we come up with this week. I just haven't had a lot of time to read, unfortunately. Just want to give you guys a quick update of our sunflower field. Sunflowers are coming in really well. They're getting nice and tall, and we're guessing maybe another week or so and they'll start blooming. Of course, unfortunately, we're going to be away that week, so I think I might miss the actual peak of the bloom, but yeah, they're looking pretty good so far. It's really, really pretty when it's all in bloom. I'll have to show you guys. Hey everybody, just checking in real quickly and just wanted to give you guys a little reading update. So I ended up finishing my audiobook, which was called This Will Only Hurt a Little by Phillips, which I told you guys about. And this was pretty good. It was just okay. I mean, I think if you like the actress and you follow her on Instagram and you enjoy her stories, then you probably would really like her memoir. She does a great job with the voice acting and reading the story and everything. But ultimately, I don't know if I read it too close to the one that I really liked, which was I'm Glad My Mom Died. That had, to me, just a more powerful message and was done a little bit better. I would say I would probably give it like 3.5 to 4 stars. I did enjoy it mainly because I was really interested in the actress herself. So that's what I think made it enjoyable for me. So I'm still working on A Subtle Knife, which is really good. I'm really enjoying it. I just think that the formatting of the book is really good. I'm not finding very many pacing issues. I love the writing itself. I love this exploration into these two kids and how they're figuring things out and how they're managing these really stressful situations by themselves. And I just love that whole idea of that animal demon, that extension of the soul living outside their body, and how he fits that into their emotions. And I really enjoy that part of it. Overall, really liking The Subtle Knife and this series in general. So the next audiobook that I started is called The Book Eaters, and I can't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but I'll put a picture of it here. And this one's really interesting so far. One note real quickly about the audio narrator is she has an authentic Northern England accent. So Yorkshire, I think Yorkshire is like the area where she's from, but it sounds so good. I really don't hear a lot of audiobooks. Ooh, the sun. So I really haven't heard a ton of audiobooks in this accent, which is, it brings it to like a new level for me, just in terms of envisioning the characters and putting the setting in a particular region or space. So really enjoying that. And the premise of this book is that it's kind of like a sci-fi magical realism type of story. And basically there's a race of human-like aliens, I guess you could say, that were created by this ambiguous force or whoever named the creator or the inventor. And he created this human-like race of people that eat books. And when they eat the books, they absorb all the information from each book. So, for example, little kids, when they're growing up, will eat, fairy tales or really children's classics and things like that. If they get punished, they have to eat pages of a dictionary. They can eat maps and know the locations of certain things. They can eat a Spanish book and become fluent in the language. So they were placed sort of secretly on Earth, and the reason isn't really clear as to why that happens. But this race of people, they just kind of live their lives away from the regular human beings. There's a few subtle differences in terms of the fact that they never get cold, or they have increased physical strength than a regular human would, and they don't make really any noise when they walk. They have a specific set of book teeth that come out kind of like vampires. But within this race of people, occasionally there's a mutation that happens and a child is born as a mind eater. And what that is that they cannot live and survive off of eating books. They feed off of human minds, which is basically a vampire feeding off of blood. That's kind of the analogy or the idea that pops into my mind. So they have to, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but when they consume a human mind, it leaves the person brain dead basically, but still functioning, but all their thoughts are gone. The mind eaters then absorb the personality and thoughts and memories of the person that they ate. So these people they're rare within this book eater culture, and there's a whole system in place on how they deal with that. So we're following our main character, whose name is Devon, and she has a son named Kai who was born a mind eater. So she's kind of on her own. She's on the run from the regular book eater people, and they're very traditional and they're very old-fashioned. They have all these rules in place in terms of arranged marriages, and only like a 5% of book eaters are female, so the females have to get married several times and produce children to keep the population of the race going. So it's really interesting. The premise is great. The audio narrator is fantastic, like I mentioned. The author actually is an autistic author, brilliant. She's also a woman of color, and our main character is queer, I believe, as well. So there's a lot of different representation within the book, which I really enjoy. And I'm just enjoying it. It's a really interesting, fun sci-fi fantasy type of story. Loving the audio narration, and so that's what my audiobook has been. Now, so we're actually getting ready to head out to Maine tomorrow for our summer vacation, and I'll be bringing a couple books with me. I'm hoping to finish The Book Eaters. I'm going to be starting my next Agatha Christie book called Endless Nights. That'll be a separate vlog. And then I am also going to work on, I'm almost done with The Subtle Knife, so hopefully I can get through that. But yep, just wanted to give you guys a quick update, and I will check in with you soon. everybody, so we made it to Maine, and I just wanted to give you a really quick reading update. I ended up finishing the Book Eaters, and that was really good. The audio was fantastic, and again, that Northern Yorkshire accent really was incredible. It really set the tone for the book for me. It put me into the story better than maybe someone with a more standard English British accent, so that was great. I also loved our main character and how the author kind of took us in a few different themes. We looked a little bit about patriarchy and what it's like to live in such a male-dominated society where there's really very few females that you grow up even knowing if you're a female yourself. And also just how you have to give in and abide by these rules. And one of the worst rules was that after you have your baby, after 3 years, you have to leave and go get married, and you can't communicate with your child. So that is just devastating within itself, and we see this feeling of loss and desperation within Devon to keep her first baby and to be with her, and how she tries everything to try to go against these rules. And then with her second child, Kai, who is the one that is born as a mind eater, which we find out right away in the beginning, you know, her ethical reasoning and that fine line she crosses between violence to keep him alive, as well as you know, trying to do what's right and what's good to everybody else. Obviously, if she is finding people for him to consume, that's horrible, but at the same time, she cannot stand the thought of losing her son and having him starve to death and all of that. So it was a pretty dark novel. It was darker than I thought it was going to be going into it. I would say it's kind of a gothic horror. There's a bit of body, gore, and violence within the book. There's some domestic violence, and I want to say I think maybe there's a little bit of violence against children as well, just in terms of how they're treated and handled. So overall, it was really interesting. It was a very interesting read. So the second book, I am not doing any audio while we're here. I'll wait till we get home. But the second physical book that I picked up was Endless Nights by Agatha Christie. And I just started that, and that's pretty good as well. I'm not going to say a huge amount within this vlog because I'm going to be doing a separate vlog about that. But interesting so far. It's written in a totally different style than my first Agatha Christie book I ever read, which was Passenger to Frankfurt. It's just totally different feel. It's written in the I point of view. We're following this character named Mike Rogers, I think, and it's an interesting story. I feel like we're taking a look into his personal journal. The way she's writing his character and communicating with us, there's kind of that removal of the fourth wall that C.S. Lewis does a lot, where he's kind of talking to you, and there's exclamation points and stuff. So that's really interesting. I love that already, just 2 books into Agatha Christie, I'm seeing that she has all these different styles so far. So I'm already liking it a lot better than Passenger to Frankfurt, so that's great. And then I also am hoping to finish The Subtle Knife. This book is just really good. I mean, it has such a fast-moving plot. I love how Philip Pullman is really creating these tense scenes, and you're just like almost skimming to get through it just to see what happens. And it's such an interesting story. It's an imaginative story. And I think some people didn't like the second book as much as they liked The Golden Compass. I personally am really enjoying the second book. I don't like it any less than The Golden Compass, and I'm kind of seeing how the story is fitting together. It's all coming together, and just this theme of these kids out there to save the world, basically, when all the adults are kind of failing them, or, you know, we get a handful of adults here and there, but some are bad. They're working with the authority or the church. And it's an interesting look at how Philip Pullman kind of uses religion in the opposite way that C.S. Lewis does. C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia was so much more about Christianity and symbolization and in favor of Christianity, where we see with The Golden Compass and his Dark Materials series, we're getting these Christian references, but they're told in a more destructive light, and how Christianity can be harmful and kind of that aspect. So it's interesting, having just finished Chronicles of Narnia to now reading this. You can see a lot of parallels between the two. But overall, great characters, great world building. I love Philip Pullman's writing, and I'm really, really enjoying this book, The Subtle Knife. I should probably finish it this trip. I'm pretty sure I will. So that's my reading wrap up. We're on day 3 here. The weather has been absolutely beautiful. Our chilliest day was on Saturday when we came, so we just kind of checked into our campsite. We went to the beach just to walk around, not to swim. The water is freezing. It feels like an iceberg. And we've had some good seafood. Sunday we went back to the beach for more of a beach day, and we went swimming, and it was so cold. It was the coldest water I've ever swam in. It physically hurt my body to be in this water, but my 11-year-old, I mean, she just loved it. She didn't care. She kept trying to get one of us to go in, so we would kind of take turns and go in, and the waves were great, so the kids had the boogie boards. I kept doing these polar dunks where I would go in up to here and try to hold it for 30 seconds, kind of like that Win Hof, the Iceman. I was trying to do those ice water challenges, so that was fun. It actually did make my muscles and my body feel really good. So today we're going to head out to the beach. My daughter and husband went for a quick walk around the campground, so that's why I wanted to film real quickly. But we're going to pack our lunches, and head back to the beach. We're going to try my favorite beach today, which is Drake's Island. So beautiful. So yeah, hopefully we get some good beach days coming up. The weather forecast looks great. So I probably will just insert footage from here on out and then check in when we get home.
Child, I know you're hurt and you can't let go. It's not your fault and you don't deserve all the bad and the hurt. I know you tried so hard. I know you've done your part. It's not fair. You did your time. How much longer will you suffer in this life? But don't give up. Just hold on tight. It'll be alright. Your life you've tried to be a good man inside. Did everything that you thought you should. Didn't seem to do you any good. I know you've tried so hard. I know you've done your part. It's not fair. You did your time. How much longer will you suffer in this life? But don't give up.
Hey everybody, so we made it back from our awesome camping trip in Maine. It was so much fun. We had the most amazing weather, and it was just warm and relaxing, and just going to the beach during the day and then coming back to that cozy campfire and campsite at night was so nice. So I had such a great time to get a little bit of reading done, like I had told you guys previously, but I just wanted to show you a preview. The sunflower field right next to our house is totally bloomed. You can see the really faint yellow there in the fog. It's really foggy and drizzly today. But I will show you guys in my next vlog a better look at everything. They're really beautiful. I'm so glad we didn't totally miss it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys soon in my next vlog.